So what I'm going to talk about is resource redevelopment, or developing the second generation of transfer stations. The problem is that a lot of the early transfer stations were built about the time when we were going from 10 or 12 or 15,000, I don't know how many, landfills down to about 3,000 landfills in this United States. And so we built all these transfer stations because you have to take the stuff somewhere, and that's where it went, to these transfer stations. But they were built with the wrong ideas a lot of times, and they were, as people have been saying all along, full of mistakes. So now a lot of them are outmoded and pretty well dilapidated, and they've run their useful life. So what do they need to be? They need to be zero waste transfer stations. We've had a lot of the concepts that go into that already presented today, so what I want to do is show you what they might look like. The architecture and the fee structures really have to carry out the policy priorities you have. So reduce, reuse, recycle is really expressed in the hardscape itself. You have to organize the drop-off areas around load types, and you have to really think like a customer of this facility. And that's hard for a lot of people to do. They've never really talked to the customers that actually use the facilities. But Urban Ore does. We do all the time, and we started as a scavenging organization. So we learned very early to talk to the customers, because if you get their cooperation, it's really a lot easier and you get a lot better materials, and they come back to you and come back to you again because they become friends, sort of, in a business kind of way. And you want to promote that highest and best recovery, so you're always talking to them about how to do that. Wasting should be the most expensive option, and if you can't figure out how to do that, there's lots of ways. You can put on surcharges, you can do full cost accounting for wasting, et cetera, and it should go way, way up. We went from, in Berkeley when I first arrived, $4 per cubic yard at the landfill to $128 a ton, I think, right now, and that's in 30 years. So what happened is that drove a lot of materials into reuse, recycling, and composting, and that's a really important thing to do. Regulated materials are a separate case. Some of those things, because of their toxicity or difficulty, may require more fees than even wasting. But fundamentally, commodity-specific pricing is really the important thing. And here, it's really important for you to shed the idea that disposal is wasting. Disposal is not wasting. Disposal is also reuse, recycling, and composting. When you dispose of things, you're getting rid of them in a legal way. You're making it go away legally. That's all disposal really is. If you dispose of an estate, you don't shovel it into a landfill. If you dispose of an estate, you don't burn it. You enhance its value. You try to maximize its value. If you're an accountant doing it for a family or something like that, you act like a recycler, is basically what happens. So disposal is the business we're in. And if you give the waste industry free access to that term, and we just start diversion, you've given away our big, huge competitive advantage, because we can do it cheaper. So we need, in this facility, fundamentally what happens is that there are 12 material categories, but they may come out in different places inside the facility because people's load types vary all over the place. And their preparation varies all over the place. Sometimes they put the good stuff on the bottom. That's not where you want it. So you have to explain to them why you're not going to pay them for this stuff, or why you're not even going to take it because it's all been ruined by bad handling. So, you know, you're constantly giving them feedback. But these are the generalized receiving areas that you need in any given redo of an existing facility. So you've got reuse, you've got containers and fibers, you've got construction and demolition materials, you've got landscape materials, and you've got regulated materials, and finally wasting. So we need new design principles, and I had access for 30 years to this guy, Mark Gurrell, who just died a few months ago. I met him first at University of Oregon. He was an architecture student. I used to hang out with him all the time and with his friends. He taught me a lot about design. And he felt that design was the most important thing in a lot of things that go on around us. And as we got to be even better friends after I moved to Berkeley, he was already there, he became our lead architect on almost everything. He designed the first zero waste transfer station It got published in Sierra Magazine 4 months later, and by then he had put it through 2 or 3 more iterations. This was when we hadn't actually beaten the incinerator yet. This was 1982, in early 1982, and our initiative to stop it didn't actually pass until September. So this was an attempt to show the people of Berkeley how you could do it in a different way. Long 9.6 acre facility. Here's traffic here. Here's bins coming out, bins coming out. It's a little bit primitive, but it's kind of an interesting and actually still fairly credible design. We went on. We did about 25 or 30 more. I don't even know how many we've done. This one happened to be in Lowestoft, England, which is in Norfolk, and I understand from Paul that now Suffolk, which is near there, and I'm sure a lot of those people came to this meeting where we laid this all out. Now they're building an incinerator. Well, you know, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink or think, as my mom used to say. Anyway, this was the Lowestoft one, and the traffic pattern was like this. It came in like this and came out. And this is a purpose-built facility. It's made, I'm just giving you an idea of what it might be like to actually have a bare piece of ground and build something from the ground up. This has all the same set of functions. Here's reuse. This is recycling. Here's regulated materials. Here's composting and all that stuff in landscape. And finally wasting at the end. And you go around these circuitous routes to get there. This one is a rebuilt transfer station, or at least a plan for one. So far, it hasn't gone anywhere. It's been around for 5 years. Before Mark died, he introduced us to a new architect, Greg Van Mechelen. And Greg and he had worked on a lot of things together, and so this is a joint product of theirs. This is our existing facility, which was built when we were supposed to have an incinerator right here. Never happened. Recycling expanded. The traffic is very cobbled up. A whole lot of it is given over to just truck parking. All this customer service area. Here's the only customer interface outside of Feegate that you have. It's just really poorly designed. Here is our new design for it. It's a big, huge place. It's got this huge customer interface. It operates like an airport. And airports, as we know, are really good ways to get rid of materials. Here's the building itself. And we put in a bunch of offices here. And this is a flow diagram that shows how materials move from one end to the other. Finally, I'm going to show you, we're doing now with Greg Van Mechelen, we're doing a redesign of Burbank's transfer station. And this is the situation. We've got a very small, tiny little place that is way maxed out on single stream. The single stream goes through here. What they want to do is scale back to about 80 tons per day. And they think they might be able to get hold of all this land right here. So what we're giving them is 3 options, and we're just at the very beginning of this. All the things move around depending on how much land you have. So here's the intermediate. The first one was just stay the same. The next one is intermediate. We get a little bit of the Caltrans land, and finally we take over all the Caltrans land, and that's what it would look like. We're just giving them a picture of what it might look like if we did the right thing. And we hope that it'll work. We've got about 3 or 4 months probably before we're done with this. Stay tuned and go forth and design. This design here was done by Nancy Gurrell, Mark's wife. We use it in our advertising quite a bit.